Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Landscaping to the Point today. We are live. Thanks all joining us. It is me and Josh right now. JC's on his way. But I want to thank you guys for joining us here and listening to us on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to us, like I said before, you can watch us here on Landscapes by Acme YouTube page. Hope everybody's having a great week this week. It's been a fun week for me. Josh, has it been a real good week for you, or has it just been about the same for you?
It's been up and down. We got going on the work week this week, and from last Monday it was just kind of like, all right, door shutting and things coming up, but not horrible. Not horrible. Just a lot came up last week to start the season off. So
yeah, it's been we've had mower issues this week. If anybody's following us, so we've been having mower issues. So I mean that's what kind of this episode's about is which mower do I choose. So I've actually had two buddies of mine this week lend me their mowers so that way I can get my list done. They were both backup mowers of theirs. So one was a right mower, a 36-inch right mower, and the other one was a Toro 48-inch mower. So I've had the ability to kind of test out some mowers and see which one I'm looking for. And I noticed you, Josh, might be looking for a mower also.
yeah. So context to that, we're getting back into maintenance on the commercial side, maybe a little bit of residential. Not sure on that part yet, but definitely some of the commercial. And yeah, I've been looking, and I honestly was gonna go buy a cheapo, like off marketplace or something. But just in the past, I know how that is, especially on this route. I'm not the one that's gonna be on the mowing route, and I seem to forget. Not everyone knows how to pick up a wrench. So yeah, you buy a $2,000-3,000 mower off of marketplace and save $5,000, $3,000 or whatever, and then these guys are stuck with it. So I've been kind of like scavenging the market trying to figure out exactly what I want because I've been out of that mower game. And even when I was in it, I really didn't know. I had Gravely's and I had X Marks, mostly for the price point, to be honest with you. They were great machines, but it was mostly those were the lowest entry price points I could find at the time. I'm finding that X Mark necessarily isn't the greatest price point anymore because you have Bradley, you have lower end Gravely, you have Bad Boy, I think it is now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. So I'm not an expert on mowers, but what we're looking at right now is a 2023 Wright ZTL 61 with a triple bagger system, 31 and 36 horsepower. What did I say it was? Vanguard motor.
Vanguard. Yes. Yeah, Vanguard mower, which I don't like. I mean, that's me. I mean, I've had issues with Vanguard and Briggs & Stratton motors. So I'm more of like a Kohler or Kawasaki guy on any of my equipment anymore. We just had our Bradley, which, they're good mowers. They're cheaper mowers. There's a lot of mowers out there that are cheaper, definitely. But I think you got to look at sometimes how long is it going to last? What's your turnaround on when you want to change out that mower brand when you're actually out there mowing? So that's always a good thing. We have JC's coming in. Morning, JC.
So what's up, fellas?
We're talking about the mowers and stuff, and like I just said, that I think it depends on your mower, what you want to do, and how long you want to keep it in the fleet. So, Josh, if you're getting this mower and it's more of like a commercial brand mower, how long would you plan on keeping it in round till you change it out?
I guess that obviously varies too on how much you're doing. Like I'm not going to have like a full 180 account mowing route, but I would hope that even with a heavier route, I could keep it for 3 years maintained. Depreciate it for those 3 years, right off the interest, and on the back end, sell it and make some money back on it. And, by that time it's made its money. Like when I break it down, I think it's something with the bagger system and some interest. It's like $5,000 a year for the 3 years. So now you look at what you got to make that back. That shouldn't be an issue, right? On a residential account, that should be, one residential account with spring, fall cleanups that's obviously assisting you with the mowing. and then just a routine mows. So the idea would be that it's paid for in no time, and within 3 years probably turn around. And who knows if we continue doing it for 3 years or if it's just for these accounts that we have to maintain. But
So are
still,
these commercial accounts or residential accounts you're looking at?
these are commercial accounts. The reason for buying it is because we have these commercial accounts, and in order to retain the snow, we have to take on the landscape side or the
I
landscape
see.
maintenance side. Nothing crazy, just mowing, weeding, mulch, spring fall cleanup, and some like annual flowers. Um, I've been approached by a lot of past customers about, if I wanted to mow their lawns or not, if we ever got back into it. The temptation's there because, we've always done it where like I won't just do a straight mowing account. You had to do at least 3 services with us. And typically that would be spring, fall, and mowing. But, you like to get like the spring cleanup, the fall aeration, that's straight money there. And then the mowing. So, it's keeping two, 3 guys on a mowing crew consistently busy from now until, Thanksgiving time. And, that also allows me to keep guys busy in the winter or keep guys on in the summer from the winter rather than just taking guys that may have typically been working somewhere else and then they come to us for the winter. That's why they have the year-round employment with Carbon Green. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's definitely something you need to look at, especially I think a lot of people take the jobs, even one-time jobs, because they're a cash flow. It's that extra cash flow, but you got to look at more of like how much is that customer going to produce for you?
yeah,
Um, is that customer worth it in the long run? I think we changed it to where we're trying to get rid of a lot of our every other weekers, which this year we actually did. So now we're all straight weekly mows. I do have a couple that I pick up every once in a while that are just one-time cuts, but they're priced higher than a normal regular cut would be, and I think that helps it out a little bit because you don't know what you're coming into when you come to a one-time mow. But yeah, it's worth it to have more than one service for one customer when you go to 2 of them for the mowing.
yeah. And that's part of the reason too why the new one we're going after is a 61 is obviously efficiency and speed.
Right.
We considered put a 48 on, and we'll have a 61, a 48, and a 36. The other 2 I already own. But as far as the 61, even if you do pick up like an acre, I think that machine itself, I think when I looked at the specs, it was like 7.5 acres an hour. Is obviously that's without variibles, anything like that. But that's still not bad, especially if you get a guy on there that's seasoned and we train them. That's going to speed things up like crazy. And a lot of these commercial lots they have, they're city lots, so it's not like we're not doing like what you would have out there where it's like a football field, straight football field. But if we do, now we can at least accommodate those accounts in an efficient manner on our end.
Right. So why did you choose Right? I mean, is it because of the dealer support or is it because what's available to you? I mean, I know you said you've had Gravely in the past, and there's so many more brands out there. I mean, even Still is getting into the game because I seen Still has a nice sit down 61-inch too that just came out too. So is that just because of your dealer and what they have?
So yes. So up here, and Jensen, maybe I'm wrong, but up here I think like the dominant brands are Wright, Walker, Exmark, and then like Gravely is on like the entry level of it, but we don't have a lot of the other brands. Like Skag used to be a thing, and there are Skag dealers, but like the service area I have is like everybody's a Wright dealer, so it's easy to get in. Exmark, there's a few guys, but there's only 2 guys around me that are Exmark dealers in authorized repair shop. He'll leave a mower there, and it'll be there for probably. We had a 48-inch Exmark Viking or Metro. I don't remember which one it was years ago, and it was in a shop for like 3 months for something really simple, but it was under warranty. So as far as the Wright, I have from Greater Boston to Central Mass to Southern New Hampshire, there's probably about 50 Wright dealers.
Okay.
So that was really the big thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely in our area, I've seen recently within the past maybe 10 years, Wright's definitely gained increase in popularity, and just like Josh was saying, they're more readily available throughout the dealerships that are kind of located near us. You're spot on. Wright's definitely on the top of the list. you have a few guys here and there with the John Deere. Gravely is available, but only in certain areas. Like there's a place maybe about an hour away from us, and there's a repair shop in my town, but they don't sell Gravely. So it's kind of like if you go to buy it, you go to one end of the state, and then you go to the other end of the state for repairs. But yeah, I mean, Wrights are good machines. And it's tough. Also, we have Kubota. There's a Kubota dealership in my town as well too. I don't see too many often. More so where that dealership is located. People obviously that are in town will end up buying their equipment over there. But yeah, I mean, it's every location throughout the country. People. You have your Bobcats. People ride their Bobcats in certain parts of the country. Their Skags, their Graveleys, so on and so forth. It just really depends on what dealerships you have around you.
Right. I mean, there's a lot by us. There's, Toro's a bigger one for us around our area, but you still can get Gravely, you can get Exmark, you can get Wright. There's a Wright dealer. The only thing I worry about is, like with us, why we've stuck with Gravely is so much is that we can get parts. If we need to fix something, we can get parts within 2 days. Buying straight from Gravely. And I don't know if Wright does that or any other company does that yet. But, I mean, is the parts available? If you needed to get parts right away, could you get the parts right away for that Wright mower? Because, I mean, I've actually seen, talking to one of my guys yesterday, one of my friends out here, he has a brand new Toro, and he has a problem with one of the belts snapped or something, and they didn't have it in stock. So he's down that mower right now, which is a brand new mower, which usually you don't have that right away.
For a belt, he's
yeah. Because it was pretty much one of the new mowers that they put out this year that Toro put out, and they don't have the belt in stock at all yet. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's something that like I kind of worry about, like when going to buy some of these mowers. A lot of times it's like it's harder to get some of these parts, and unless the dealer is there to support you and actually say, okay, well, I might not have that part in stock, but here, take this mower right now as a demo. Like a lot of these other companies, some of them do make them buy demos, and it just depends on the dealer too. So
I think for us, I think there's like just in general where I am, where my business is located out of. As far as the right stuff, like the right mowers, yeah, I think I could get parts in a heartbeat. Not to say that I couldn't get them for Exmark or. It's funny you mentioned Toro because I left them off my list, and I want to say Toro 5 years ago in that area was huge with the grandstand mowers, and I think Walker made so much of an impact in this area, and the same with Exmark, that they kind of just fell off. I actually don't see people with Toro as much out here anymore as I used to.
I don't either.
Yeah, and that's where it's at. I think it is like our area used to be flooded with Skag, and now Skag's starting to disappear from the area, and you're not seeing as many Skags. And I think that's how it is once a dealer switches, you start to see a lot of change in mowers and what's available to get out there. So
it's weird over here. Talking about Gravely, the only time I've ever really seen people use companies use Gravely were smaller companies, but like the bigger landscape companies, you'll see the Skags and you'll see the Wrights for sure. But Gravely's a kind of a unique brand in our area. I mean, it's a good mower. I like them. And I've seen like smaller companies, usually the stand-ons as opposed to the sit-downs.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to mention something on the parts real quick, and I'm going to throw shade to a company. One of the dealers, again, so in my area, I have 2 dealers that I have that are within 15 minutes either way. They're the main dealers. One of them being Turf Depot, who owns Pro Parts Direct. Now, this isn't a shot at Pro Parts Direct. Scott, I think they're a friend of yours, and I'm not gonna throw anything at Pro Parts because the guy that runs that is a friend of a very close friend of mine. But Turf Depot, you fucking suck. I went there this weekend, and that is the biggest joke of a parts guy. Like, if you're gonna be a parts guy, be a parts guy, not a fucking keyboard puncher. I
think a lot of them don't know what parts go on what. I mean,
oh my god. but Scott, here's the thing, right? I have an older 2001 New Holland skid steer machine that's a yard machine, right?
Right.
And I go to this place up in Brentwood, New Hampshire, which is probably like 30, 40 minutes from my yard. I call there, and I don't know the name of the pen. I don't know how to describe the location. The older gentleman, probably 50s or 60s, sits on the phone, goes through the actual, like, the schematic. Okay, I located it. Is this? I said, yeah, I think so. He's like, look it up real quick online. I give him the part number. He goes, yeah, that matches up. Cool. Let me go check and see if I have them. So he goes and checks his pen. He checks his box. He goes, you know what? It showed I have one. I don't. My Milford store has one, and I can order them in. Why don't I just order them both in and drop ship them to you? Cool. Awesome. This is the right measurement? Yep. Get it out. Measure it. I go up to Turf Depot. I have, Jensen, the 36-inch X-Mine I got sitting in my house. I'm trying to bring that up to put that on the mowing rod as a backup for the smaller yard, for the smaller properties, the islands. I need the pull cord starter assembly, the whole thing, the recoil, right? Fucking recoil, right? It's a Kohler engine, right? On an X-Mark, I don't know how old or what year, because the serial stuff, the serial model numbers are rubbed off. All I have is the last four of the serial number. So I call up this guy on the phone, right? Maybe this is me just being a little bitch. Guy on the phone, I explain what's going on. He goes, yeah, I'm going to need that model number. I'm like, you seriously can't even try to look up like X-Mark Metro and see the I already looked up what engines were in there for a Kohler. There's 3 different Kohler engines. He goes, no, I can't do that. I need the model number. I'm like, well, what do you do with people when they call and they don't have a model number? He goes, we send them to the junkyard and tell them to figure it out themselves.
Wow.
I go, okay, so that's me being me. I go, I go to meet the crew. I had the part in one of the trucks that I was using last week. Grab the part, walk in, put it on the desk. I said, how you doing? No, mind you, I am being respectful. I know how I can be. I come off as a pompous, ignorant fuck sometimes. So I put it down the counter. So I spoke to someone on the phone. I just thought maybe it was a good idea to bring it in, right? Because in my days as a auto parts guy, I had what was called a tape measure. And I knew how to use a tape measure against what I had and look at a fucking schematic and measure a fucking part. This guy looked at me. He was like, I told you I need the model number. I said, you really can't just measure width and depth and look at a photo. I'm like, how many possible Kohler engines are there? He goes, there's 10. I said, well, I'm pretty sure this thing's from a 2000 to a 2006. So I'm like, when I narrow that down, I'm like, I saw 10 Kawasaki's, but I saw 3 Kohler. And man, I can't do it. That's just I can charge you $150 a piece, and by the time we get to it, and I'm like, or you could pull out a measuring tape, you can measure the diameter and get on the phone and call the company. That's the way I do it. I said, you know what? I'll do it Monday. Fuck it. See you later. And I swap it down, and I call my buddy who parts direct, and I tell him, that's it with that place. I bought mowers from there. I bought parts from there. I bought nickels. I'm done with that place. So dealer support right there, that just goes to show you. And that's a place that they don't sell right. They actually sell X-Mark, Toro, and Walker. And they've been infamous for not stocking parts or horrible dealer support. But that's another place. My business is done there because of that type of dealer support. But yeah, parts. I made sure that I could get parts for the right, and it ain't gonna be from those motherfuckers.
How old was the guy at the counter?
Dude, it's probably our age. That's the thing, and it's come on, you had to be around some boomer in your life that if you're in a blue collar industry, someone showed you how to use a tape measure. You just fucking didn't give a fucking tip through life,
Well, I mean, if you got the parts in stock, some of those old recoils, you have parts in that you can match up. Like when I went to my Gravely dealer to get a bolt, we had a bolt snap off for the tire. Literally, instead of buying the whole hub, I just wanted the bolt. So he went in the back with the bolt, took it up and measured it up against all the bolts he had. And he had a Toro one and he had a Bad Boy. And he's like, I don't have the Gravely in stock because Gravely wants you to buy the whole hub. But here's the bolt that matches up exactly. Here's the nut that goes on the Gravely. Go put it in. Literally, it's simple. Especially
it's not rocket science, and it's an older machine, so I'm not worried if I get the wrong part and it's off or I'm gonna damage to something. But at the same time, it's such an older machine, and all I'm gonna do tonight is I'm gonna take those last 4 numbers, that 4484, and literally just try to go through the serial numbers of Kohler. And again, he doesn't get paid to do that, but you know what? You take that extra step in what you do, that makes me happy as a customer. How do you know that I didn't have a fleet of 100 mowers and leaf blowers and all this crap, and you just pissed me off? Obviously I'm not that size, but it's like you have to take in consideration, who's who. Plus, it's like you take pride in what you do for that.
Yeah,
it's
I think you need to.
Don't you want to be the guy? Like you walk in, you want to be the guy, but not at this place.
People just want to spread their misery onto others.
Oh man, he did. He put me in a really bad mood the rest of Friday, like a really bad mood.
Oh yeah, I bet. So look on your motor. Your motor, you can get the serial number and the model number right off of the valve cover.
So that's what's actually wiped off. It wasn't etched in. It was it's a plate, and it faded off over time. So, but I'm gonna look. Sometimes if I can take a few things apart, I might be able to get an engine code off it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know what I'm gonna do? Listen, they're $30 a piece on Amazon for the assemblies. I'll buy fucking 10 of them that way.
Right.
And figure it out. But I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like just a little bit of research, I'll be able to figure it out. Like, hey,
Yeah, I think pros. Pro parts. They're supposed to be pros.
Yeah. They're not that big of a pro. I mean, I think that's what.
But again, wait, hold on. I want to time out. It's not Pro Parts Direct I was dealing with.
It's Turf Depot.
Turf Depot in Salem, New Hampshire can go kick a fucking rock. Yeah, suck.
I think that's where it comes down to. It's dealer support is a main thing, especially when you buy anything. When it comes to mowers or weed whips or anything like that, I think it's a big difference, and it's how they treat you when you first walk in. I mean, I've gone into a couple of these dealers around here, and I'll be in full uniform, and they'll just be like, "Hang on, give me a second, I'll get to you." It's those ones when you walk in and they're like, "Hey, how you doing? What can I help you with? I'm serving another customer, but give me a couple seconds. I'll take all my time to help you out." Them are the ones that I want to deal with, because they're actually the ones that want to take the time and actually to talk to you right away. The ones that don't, that are just like, "Oh, I'm busy. Let me finish this up. It'll be 15 minutes." And you're standing there like dumbfounded because there's nobody else in the store. And you're like, "What the heck?" You can't, say hi. What can I do for you? There's a lot of, I think that makes a big difference on everything. And pretty much a lot of the dealers that I deal with, for Gravely, we even have a dealer that deals still, and literally you walk in the front. Once you walk in the front door, that all they have is still in John Deere. You walk in the door and there's a chick sitting there at a desk right at the door that says, "Hey, how can I help you? Do you need help with parts? Do you need help with buying a piece of equipment? Do you need this?" They'll send you to the right person, and they got tons of guys sitting there that will answer your question. And if not, they'll call a mechanic out to say, "Hey, this guy needs a part. Get him a part." That's what you want. You want somebody that's going to give you that support. I think that's the main thing. And if you got that, Josh, I'd definitely go with that right mower.
I think that's the best thing, because it's, again, I can do the X mark, but I'd say every single lawn care company, lawnmower company has X mark on the trail. And so that just tells me when there's an issue, there's going to be a lot of them in the shop. The rights, there's an influx, but there's so many dealers that are just pushing that because it's the hot thing right now. Then I feel like I'll be able to get in there. Plus, warranty shit, it's going to take a little bit longer anyway.
Plus, the good thing too is now is if you go with that right, you have a lot of different options. So let's say like you start off on the right foot with that dealership that you did buy that mower from. And we all know how sometimes things could happen. They sell you a nice mower, and then after the sale, they switch their personalities and they don't want anything to do with you. But having the accessibility of multiple dealerships around in your location available, like you have options, and again, right, being a big company and stuff like that. Yeah, there are certain things that you can find on your own, but especially having a brand new mower under warranty, I believe you can take that mower to any other authorized dealership for repairs. So
yeah.
If you have bad luck on, or let's say even they're not a bad company, they're just backed up with work. They have a lot of customers in line ahead of you to get your mower service. You could always have the option to go somewhere else. Ideally, they're going to prefer that you bring the mower back to where you bought it from. But I mean, you still have those options available.
Right. Yeah, I think that's also a good point. I know a lot of dealers in our area that if you're a commercial guy and you come in and you buy regularly from you, they're going to take care of you first before a homeowner, because they want to make sure that you're out there. They know that you got to get out there and make that money. And they understand that time is an essence to you when you're out there mowing. And if you losing that hour because of a part, and they got it in stock. They want to make sure that you got that part, and a lot of them, the one I deal with is literally, if you got the time, they'll go ahead and change the part. If you don't, they're like, here's the part, we'll give you a discount for it because you're going to have to install it if you can install it, and they'll explain it to you sometimes on what you have to do to install it, and that's, I think sometimes, especially with us, when we get busy and we're out in the middle of a job, like a belt breaks or something, I ain't got time to really drive it up there and say, hey, we'll put this belt on. It's more like, hey, I'll go get the belt. We'll leave the mower right here in this yard and I'll come back and put it back on. So it's one of those things. So now, talking about that, so do you think Wright is the best mower out there?
I don't think I can answer. I don't have enough. I'm kind of ignorant to it. Like I don't really have enough information on that. I mean, I feel like if you ask a Walker guy what the best mower is, he's going to tell you a Walker night and day. And then if you ask a Toro guy, he's going to say Toro. I haven't used enough. Like I've never used a Walker mower, right? So I have no idea. I've used an Exmark Navigator, and I thought that was an amazing mower that manicured everything. So that question probably have to go to JC.
Yeah, that's going to be subjective, man. Everyone has their own preference. Some people like Pepsi, some people like Coca-Cola, but it's just, whatever works for you and your best situation is going to be the best mower that you have. I mean, it's hard. There's so many good manufacturers out there, and even not being able to try them all, like I think each of them have something unique to offer. But at the end of the day, they all should cut grass. I know, Josh, you were talking maybe last week, I don't remember, about Bradley, and yeah. I've never ridden Bradley or tried a Bradley, but I've seen them at the expo before, and those are kind of gaining popularity as far as price point. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, which mower is better than the other, but you just kind of have to go what works for you.
I think that's the main thing, is it's what you prefer to have. It's not, I think they're all great mowers. Everybody has, like you said, they all have their little things. Like Ferris has that oil cooler, each one has their little different things, but I think it's about what you guys want to run and what you are used to and what you get accustomed to. Going this week with running a Toro and running a Wright and running my Gravely's, I tell you what, I couldn't tell you which one's the best one. They all have their best things about them. They both, they all ride the same. They all cut the grass the same way. It's more about, to me, it's about the dealer support and the price tag. I mean, if the price tag is way too high, I'm not buying it. And from what I'm gathering, some of them are pretty way high, especially Toros. So, I mean, I would stick away from Toro from my point, but it's all on you, who you are, and how you run your business and what you want to do for your company. So
my just circling back to the Bradley thing. So I originally looked at Bradley for a price point for me, because again, I'm not a lawn mowing company. I don't have the roots like most of the other guys have. So at the time, to have invested in a crazy expensive mower didn't make sense. But the more and more we looked at, okay, we'll spend 10,000-15,000 on 3 Bradley mowers. What are we gonna do if 2 of them breaks down? There's no dealer. The closest dealer, I live an hour from my yard. The closest Bradley dealer is an hour and a half south of me. So that becomes a problem where, like, now you got 10-15K worth of mowers, and if you get 2 of them down, you're in trouble. So right. I did back away from that because of the lack of dealer support in the area.
Right. I think that's one of the things. There's a lot of mower companies out there, and you got to go with something that's in your area. Like you said, you got Wright in your area. You have whatever, Exmark, whatever. But it's like, if you go with a mower company that's way far out of your way, or you can't get parts, is it really worth it? That comes down to that too. So JC, you got a Gravely. You love Gravely, right?
I have Josh's old Gravely.
Right. So it just depends, right? I mean, it depends on what you want to run.
Yeah. When I bought my Gravely, originally I bought it in Fitchburg, Mass, which is about 40 minutes from my house. And I had a lot of different options that I wanted to do too. But the first mower I bought, I thought was the right. I don't know. I'm kind of going back away from the question that you just asked. But had I done it again, I probably would have bought a used commercial mower. But to answer your question, I went with Gravely because of that dealer support and having it available to me. I mean, I know there were other dealerships around, but price point was a factor for me. I ended up buying one that was not a commercial, more of a prosumer, higher end residential type of mower, if you want to call it that. But for the amount of workload that I was doing at the time, it was ideal for my situation. So some of the other brands, they didn't really have that specific category of mower that I was looking for. You were either going to like the really residential ones, the lower tier residential ones, or you were going for those like for the bottom tier commercial type. And I was looking for something kind of in between at the time. But yeah, Gravely, it's been great. I mean, it cuts grass. It's reliable. I haven't had any issues with it. Easy to work on yourself. If you're just kind of doing your own maintenance to it. I mean, I really don't have any complaints. I'm not going to say it's stellar. I don't think there is a mower on the market that's just 10 out of 10. But for my situation, yeah, I like Gravely, and I'd be open for other ones. I know Wright's a good mower. I have never used I've ridden one, but I've never really personally used one for work or anything like that. But you can sense when you go to the expo and try these machines, the quality behind it, the build quality. So you could definitely trust those types of mowers. Now is another category too, is like what type of engines are you looking for? Are you looking for Kohler? Are you looking for Kawasaki? And you could get so crazy with the options. I mean, you get a Gravely with a Kawasaki or a Kohler. Same thing with Toro, and
Right.
that makes the mower a lot more unique in that sense too.
Yeah. So now, Josh and me talked about this earlier this week. You like the Vanguard motors, right?
So my preference would be Kawasaki. I don't mind Vanguard. So I had some older Lesco, like back in the day. Lesco had their
walk behinds and sit downs.
No, this was they had that, but they had the leaf vacuums at the same time. They had those, and they ran Vanguard in their engines. And I mean, we abuse these things. Like we never changed the oil. I mean, I had one that blew up on me and still kind of ran a little bit after that. So I'm not scared of a Vanguard like I am a Kohler.
Okay.
Because obviously a Kohler, you can't even measure the fucking assembly to get apart. So they're that difficult. But no, yeah. My number one preference would be Honda or Kawasaki, but obviously Honda is very rare to find in a lot of the stuff we do. The engines, but Kawasaki, Vanguard, Kohler, and then Briggs is at the bottom of the barrel.
What about Toro has their own motor?
Do they?
I think so.
Actually, I don't know because the one I was using the other day had a Kawasaki on it. So I think it just depends. Depends on what you want to buy.
Yeah, maybe it's a residential option, but I thought I saw a Toro with a Toro, unless it's just branded, and it's really something else.
So now, okay, could you get that right with a Kawasaki engine on it?
He's either deep in thought or we can't hear him.
I think he unmuted on himself. He lost his mic. That's all right. He doesn't want to talk about Kawasaki no more.
No, what it was, it was that company in New Hampshire cut him off.
Yeah. You're just getting all messed up all day this week.
Turf. Yeah, we got you now. Yeah, Turf.
I
told
you. What I tell you after the podcast last week, I plug it in and then it starts acting up.
You plugged it in.
Computer's not even a year old. To answer your question, I don't know what you heard, but I believe you can. But where I'm getting it from, no, they didn't have the option. So.
Okay. So now, here's a good one. Is it better to finance it or to buy it totally outright?
Depends on your position.
Okay.
I'm
What's
not
the benefits of financing?
cash. I get to keep my cash. I can do more with my cash. So beginning of the year, like right now, to take 13 to 15 grand and throw it out, I can do a lot with 13 to 15 grand, whether it's, having that extra money for payroll, for repairs that are going to come up from stuff that just sat all winter and maybe hasn't ran. I get bulk mulch coming in, that's expensive that comes in. I prefer to finance when I can, when the opportunity is there, just to have control of my lump sum of money. I'd rather put that little bit of money out and budget. I know that this mower is going to cost me $400 a month, maybe, so I know I can budget for that. I put that into my overhead. That's fine. I have that extra lump sum of cash in my business account. So if something comes up, now, if I get to the point where I don't have any more purchases coming up for the company towards the end of the year, I'll throw it at it,
Yeah, I think it just depends on where you're at, like you said. It just, if you got the money and you don't need it for anything else, but like, I think spring is one of those times where it's hard to throw that money straight out and say, here, I'm going to buy this mower, especially with it's like you and me doing so many landscaping or hardscaping and, putting the money into other things to be able to continuously do work. You're at that point where sometimes you're like, okay, well, I need to finance it. And I think even if you're starting out and you need to get that mower, financing is probably the best thing to do, because then you can set up a payment plan of saying, okay, 200, 300 a month is going to go to the mower out of a job, so if I'm doing 2 jobs and it's going to cost me I'm going to make 200 out of that in a week. Okay, right here's my money for that mower. I put that off to the side and be able to pay that mower. Like, that's the best way to do it, definitely, if you can. If you can't and you got to go out and buy a mower, maybe it's one of those things where you buy a used mower right off the bat and start out with a used mower and then work your way up to that big mower. That's always a plus sometimes. I sometimes look at both ways. I like used, but sometimes when you buy a used, you don't know what you're getting into sometimes, and it's one of those things. It might look like the best mower out there. It might run like the best mower, but what's going to happen a month from now? You might not get that out of that a month.
Well, and that's always been my battle, where you spend $5,000 to $8,000 cash out of pocket on the mower, and then that breaks down a month later. Now you're out to $8,000. Now you have to let it sit, and then now you still have to go find a replacement or a backup to either rent or use. Whereas, not saying that can't happen with the brand new piece of equipment, but if you're looking at, for instance, like a Walker mower, right, $18,000 to $20,000, if you have the 18 to 20 that will not affect your account if things come up, great, buy it outright. Don't have to pay the interest. But at the same time, why not break that up over 2 or 3 years? You can write off that interest. You depreciate the mower, you write off the interest payments. Even if you're getting a shitty rate at like 20%, 10% on the interest rate, you should be able to make that back with what you're doing. So I wouldn't be scared of an interest rate on that point, but I just wouldn't do it if you were starting and you only had like maybe 50 accounts. You don't know if this is what you're doing. But if you're at the point where it's like, all right, maybe you're mowing lawns 5 days a week, 3 days a week, and it's really kicking your ass, and you know that I'm having to use starter fluid, or I see these things coming up, issues with the mower, that, hey, maybe it is time to get a new one. And things can happen, new mowers can break down, but it's rare that you're going to have a brand new mower that's going to fail on you the first month, the second month. It can happen, but I'd rather be making that payment knowing that I have peace of mind of going out cutting 100 lawns a week, that my engine's not going to blow up.
I'd like to know what Paul Kamara thinks of the topic, because he runs the Walker mowers, and those are very nice, unique mowers for people's situation. But he runs the Walkers as opposed to the Wrights. But I got a question for both of you guys. Companies, do you see that sometimes they could often make the mistakes of buying too little of a mower or buying too much of a mower for their needs?
I think it depends, especially when you first start out. You want to go big because you're like, okay, I'm gonna get everything that's gonna be big enough. A lot of guys I see in my area go ahead and buy like a 48, 52 inch, which is good because a 48 will get into some of the backyards, but then you're still getting them jobs. Like, you might have one job that, you go down the whole street, let's say, and you get every house that you can and all of them are open except for that 1 yard. And you're like, okay, I need that 36 or I need a 30-inch to get into the backyard. It's hard to say which mower is right to start out with. You know, for me, when I first started my business, I came from a company that actually had that kind of stuff. We had walk behinds, we had sit downs, we had pretty much from a 36 on all the way up to the biggest we could at that time, which was a 61. And I think it was more of, you had to look at what you could use the most. And for me, a 48 was probably the best I could get because that could get into a lot of backyards. And yeah, I might have 1 yard that I have to carry a 20-inch in, but as a starting point, I think starting with a 48 is perfect. You know, and you can kind of gauge from there where you got to go. And if you start to get more bigger yards, more wide open yards, then you want to upgrade and try to get a 61-inch. You know, I think that's the best way. What about you, Josh?
I agree with you. I think 48 is the way to start. 48 does get through a lot of backyard gates. Can cover a lot of city yards. I think having a 21, a 41, a 48, and a 21 on the truck's a good idea. Jump into a 61. I think it all depends on what type of area you're in. If you're in an urban or a rural area, a 61 might not be ideal. Like, what if you only have like 1 yard? Why not have, like, if there's 2 guys in the truck, if there's 2 guys in the truck, 2 48s, and knock it out that way, and you can tag team. I feel like if you're more of like this dog is driving me nuts today. If you're more of a rural area, then that 61 is gonna knock it out the park and do it. But that's exactly why we're doing 21, 48, 61 is to kind of break it up. And obviously that 61 is going to assist with our cleanups. We do still offer fall and spring cleanup, so that's going to help with sucking stuff up. It's got that real cool vacuum system that just pops right out. So quick and efficient.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right with that, right, Mower?
Yeah, but I think Paul Camara says that you need a walker because really it bags better and it's beautiful. So I mean, you might want to just get a walker instead.
That's a unique situation.
Man, I don't know if I think those mowers look cool and they leave such a manicured cut. They're beautiful. But just that part of me is just like, man, they're expensive. Like, I just don't feel like, I don't know. I don't feel like I could pull the trigger on that expensive of a mower.
But I mean, I would argue that those mowers, that although they're very nice, I've had the experience to try one out. They're for unique situations. Like he does like very large, well manicured properties, and
Yeah.
if you're gonna take a right and cut a yard full of weeds and twigs and all debris and stuff like that, I think I'd rather go with a traditional type of mower for that.
Oh, yeah, no, agreed. I'm thinking there's a company in my area that's strictly walker, but they're doing the manicured, $1.2 million plus houses. They're not doing, Sue and Bob's. Yeah, there's dandelions and
yeah. I wouldn't take a walker through that. Yeah.
So okay, here's a good one. Okay, starting out, did you start with a stander or a walk behind, or like a sit down?
Listen, for me, cheapest route. Walk behinds are the cheapest. A brand new. So you look at the Bradley. You want to see price points? Bradley has prices on their website, so you can see sit down, stand on, walk behind. A walk behind entry level is probably $4,000 to $5,000. The stand on for them is $5,000 to $7,000. So for me, any which way I'm going when I'm starting new or used, I'm going walk behind.
Right.
You can always add Velke.
Right. Yeah, I think walk behind is perfect for when you first start out, unless you got plenty of like wide open spots where you can, but price point, like you said, if you're starting out and you want to put cash right out to the point, go with that walk behind because that walk behind is the cheapest, compared to a sit down, or a stander. I think they're starting to get more and more expensive to where, yeah, they're starting to get close to that price point, but they're not totally that far off from like a stander. Because I know we were looking at a Gravely Z stance because we don't use that much on a smaller one, and I think it was like 76, and a walk behind was like I think 62. So it wasn't that much difference price wise for us. But I think you got to look at what you can afford too.
What do you like better? Do you like the sit downs or the stand ons?
I like stander. I mean, I'd rather have a stander or a walk behind. Probably just because when I first started my company, I had to walk behind. The company I first started working for had walk behinds, and I loved using the walk behinds. But the only thing is, if I was going to get another walk behind, it would be a hydro drive instead of a belt drive. I mean, belt drives are good, but once they get wet, they kind of pop off. So hydro on a walk behind. But I mean, sit down, I don't mind them, but I just can't stand it on my back for the long time. Josh?
I've never used a stand-on mower, so I can't go with
man.
that.
They're fun. They are.
We're gonna get you on one and equip. That's it.
Yeah. You know what's fun? I looked at them, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel like those, like if I had to look at it for like I'm buying for a crew, I think I would probably go with the stand-on just because like obviously I've used Dingos and stuff like that before, and the Snow Raiders, and from what I've told, they're pretty much the same as a Snow Raider. I feel like that would be easier for someone to handle than, maybe like a pistol grip walk behind. Because like you've seen the videos of people chasing the walk behinds around. I feel like they can really quickly get out of your control. Whereas like a stand, you can just kind of let go. But
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's to Paul's question. He asked, "Are standers tough on the knees? Old knees like mine?" I mean, they're innovative because a lot of them have like the suspension system on it. But I mean, yeah, you're standing. I mean, it's eventually it's gonna take a toll on you. But people, like you said, Scott, you sit down and you have back issues, and sitting down kind of bothers you. So yeah, it's
one of those things. Do you want bad knees or do you want a bad back? I mean, that's kind of where I look at it. Like
Well, maybe you just stop being a little bitch and cut the grass.
Maybe I'll just start weed whipping. Screw it. I'm just weed whipping.
Right. Forget that. I remember the last year we weed whacked. I weed whipped something like 40-something houses, and at the end of the day, my hands wouldn't stop vibrating. And I wore like heavy duty gloves. I was like, oh fuck this shit, man. I was like, no way.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think it just depends on, like he said, it's whatever you're marketing to. It depends on your dealer support, and it just depends on a whole bunch of stuff when you go pick that mower brand and what you should start out with, and it is what you want to do. I mean, the best thing is to go to Equip and test the crap out of all the mowers. Sit down, stand on. That's the best way to do it.
I will supposedly be there this year, so I'll sign autographs.
We're gonna get you there. We're gonna make you sign autographs. Yeah. Yes, we will definitely get you there somehow or some way. We will get you there.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So this was a great topic, guys. I hope you guys were listening real well. There's a lot of different things that we put on the price point, dealer support, all kinds of different things. But we know Josh is definitely buying a right, and that's going to be his next mower. JC, I don't know. JC, are you going to buy a new mower eventually, or are you just going to hold off?
No, I'm not.
You love that. You're just going to keep that gravely till it dies, right?
I hope so. I hope it lasts a long time. And
they should. I mean,
it has sentimental value.
Oh yeah, because Josh gave it to you. Did he give you a signed picture with it? Because I hope he gave you a signed picture.
That's a good idea. I want him to sign it.
Yeah. Get him a Sharpie and have him sign it there. And we'll call it Josh's edition.
If you want it to start breaking down, I'll put my curse on it. Hydro's gone.
Oh, but yes, this was a great topic. I think we had some great information here, guys. So thank you all for listening and watching. Keep watching us on Spotify. Keep listening to us while not watching us on Spotify, listening to us on Spotify and everywhere else. And Josh has got 1 second before he's
1 second.
1 second.
So we had Ferris on. Yeah. Right. We're talking all this about Wright. I'm gonna call Ed Wright out now. We're gonna chop this up on IG, call him out, have him come on and explain why Wright is the top mower in the industry. If
I,
it's the
will-
top mower.
I like that idea. I mean, I think we should get someone
Ferris-
from Toro.
Ferris
Toro should get on
confidently
there.
said they're number one. They're
Right.
number one.
You know what? How about this? How about let's say Ed answers to the call, right? He comes on the show, but he also provides Josh with a demo version to give his feedback on it.
That would be
Well,
interesting.
I already bought the thing, so it's a done deal.
We'll take any mower brand company that would want to come on and tell us about your company and tell us why you're better than the rest, no matter if it's Wright, if it's Toro, Gravely, any of the other mowers. Like Josh said, Ferris said they're number one. I want to see who can match that.
Prove it.
Prove it.
Until
Yeah.
anybody comes on, I guess Ferris is number one.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. So anybody that got connections at one of these places, definitely reach out to them and tell them to come on and let us know. So we want to put them on Landscaping to the Point and hear their interesting story about it. Otherwise, Ferris is number one. Too bad Josh isn't getting a Ferris. So, well, thanks you guys. Thanks for being on. Have a great day. Have a great week this week. Go out and get it. And thanks to our sponsor Cujo for sponsoring the show. Thank you so much. And you guys have a great rest of the week. I know I am. I'm going to try to get a lot done. It's raining here, but hey, you never know. So that's what we do. We go out and get work.